Welcome to Partnerships for Profit, the podcast where we bring you inside the world of joint ventures, strategic partnerships, and powerful collaborations. Each episode, you'll dive into conversations with top entrepreneurs, visionaries, and business leaders, unlocking the secrets to building profitable relationships that drive growth and success. Whether you're looking to expand your network, find new referral partners, or scale your business, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Welcome to Partnerships for Profit, presented by LaDuke Entertainment. Today we are joined by Brian LaBovick, the founder and CEO of the LaBovick Law Group. Brian, welcome back to the show. That is the first time I've gotten to say that.
Show number two.
Show number two. Brian has the honor of being the first guest to be a repeat guest back on Partnerships for Profit, and we are glad to have you back, Brian. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm number one for number two. I'm not sure what number two you're talking about, but we'll go with it for this show.
So for those that didn't join us the first time, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell us a little bit about the LaBovick Law Group.
All right. So my name is Brian LaBovick. I am, or was for most of my career, a trial lawyer. I graduated from University of Miami School of Law back in 1990. I was a prosecutor for a little while, and then I went out. I became a civil justice prosecutor, which is basically a trial lawyer. And I opened up my own firm in Jupiter, Florida. We moved up here in 94, and it's been growing since then. And now we have offices around South Florida as well as in Massachusetts, and we're growing. And that's who we are, and that's who I am.
And can you tell us a little bit about the people that you help? What are some of your clients looking like? What are some of the pain points that you're helping them solve?
Absolutely. So the main pain point and the biggest part of our practice is the consumer side of the practice, consumer justice, and that would be three divisions. The first is the injury division, and that's all types of injury cases. We have lawyers that do personal injury, which is automobile accidents, slip and falls, dog bites, all that typical, very stuff that you see on TV, and we do advertise for that on TV. We also have some medical malpractice, nursing home malpractice, product liability cases, mass tort cases. That's a very specialized part of the practice. It's not really what we advertise for. It's what we do for other lawyers and referral. And then we have a Social Security Disability Claims Department, and that has a number of cases in it and a couple of lawyers, and they do those all over the nation. That's a nationwide practice. And then we have our workers' comp, which is work injuries, and we have a small division doing work injuries, which kind of rolls out of the personal injury department. We're not really out there pushing hard to be the workers' comp lawyers, but we service people that are hurt and they need a workers' comp lawyer, and we're very happy to help them. I have one of what I believe is the best workers' comp lawyers in the state. He's been doing it as long as I have, and he's excellent. On the other side of the practice, we have a business to consumer side of the practice, which is for the medical community, and that is collecting hospital bills and doctor bills against insurance companies. We do not collect against patients because we're all consumer based on the other side, but we do collect against insurance companies, which we love. So my desire to get insurance companies to pay their fair share brings that side of the practice along. And so we do that here and in Massachusetts.
And for everyone listening, I'm not going to rehash everything that we talked about the first episode, but if you haven't watched the first episode, highly recommend it. It was a fantastic conversation. But one thing I do want to sort of touch back upon, because I thought this was really great, a really great sort of moment that was a bit of a highlight of the show for me, was Brian, the first time we spoke, and I was hoping you could kind of share this story again. You shared with us a very special piece of artwork, and I was hoping
I would love to, but I'm not in my office, and I think you're talking about the art that our client did for us.
I know you're somewhere different, but I was just hoping maybe you could touch on that story again. I know you don't have it to share visually. If you would like to see it, refer back to episode number 5 of this show. But that's the only thing that I would love to talk about new things, but I did want to touch back on that because I really felt that was a special moment in the show, was you sharing that piece of artwork and that story.
Thank you. All right. So I'll do that very briefly. I just want to say that with what we do on the consumer side of the practice, you're dealing with human beings and their lives. And sadly, like you see the billboards out there and smiling people, I got $300,000. What you don't see is the tragedy that led to that $300,000 or $1 million or $10 million. And the bigger the number, the greater the tragedy. And so you see these smiling advertisements, but it's very, very wrong. That's just the wrong impression that we should be giving to the community. What we do is deal in people's tragedies. We take huge burdens off of their back, we put them on our back, and we find solutions. And the only real solutions that we find most of the time are financial. In the particular instance you're talking about was a very nice woman. She was visiting her friend in the hospital. When she went into the hospital locally, she slipped and fell in the hospital, and it caused her to hurt her back badly. She went into the hospital itself. She ended up having a back surgery. The back surgery was okay. The problem is that it got infected. It's a known risk of surgery, but when it happens, the hospital needs to act quickly. And this woman was cascading terribly. She was becoming septic. She was going to die. And our law firm sought out another doctor outside of the hospital and brought them in independently and saved her life. And we went on to settle that case for a very significant amount of money. And she was taking care of the rest of her life. But in a nursing home, she made us this piece of art that I display. I mean, it's art is in the eye of the beholder, right? And so it's so special to me. I think it's so beautiful, but it's a very simple piece of art that she did. And on the back of it, she wrote, that basically we saved her life and how grateful she was to us and how she was able to lead the rest of her life in a comfortable way. And so that was wonderful for her. So it's very meaningful to me. And it's indicative of what we do as lawyers to help people. There's just a couple of those cases that happen over the course of your career, and they start mounting up. So I have this really awesome, crazy circle of life case that I did one time. If you don't mind, I have to share it.
No. That's why you're here, man.
All right. So listen to this crazy circle of life. One time I was coming home from an appointment on Indiantown Road. So I went to go and see a doctor who had his office at an intersection. And I was coming out of his parking lot, waiting at a light, waiting for the light to turn to go across the intersection. Big 6-lane road that I had to cross, both ways. So I waited for it to turn green. A truck in front of me made a right turn, and then I went through the intersection. As I went through the intersection on a green light, I heard screeching tires, and this car came barreling through the intersection and hit the front of my car and tore the nose off of the car. Literally, tore it up, spun it around in a circle so fast that my car ended up hitting the rear of her car, even though the front of her car hit my car. So it spun so quick that we double impacted, spun me around, 1.5 times or whatever. And my airbags go off, the car's smoking. I think it's on fire. And her car hit me and went right under a giant RV. She was in this little Fiero and it went under the RV. So I get out, this huge accident scene, and I'm walking toward her and I'm looking at her. She's trying to get her child out of the back seat because she had a baby in the back seat. And I'm like, is he okay? Is he okay? Are you guys okay? And she goes, I think so. Until she pulls him out. She goes, he's okay. She was bleeding on her arm, right? We're in the middle of the intersection and I'm walking. So I'm okay. And I'm like, I'm okay. You're okay. We're all okay. That's the important thing. And I'm walking toward her and her eyes are getting bigger as I'm walking toward her. And all of a sudden I feel like something in my eyes. And so I go like this and I'm full of blood. I'm like this. And my head had broken open a little artery on my forehead and it was going boop, boop, boop with blood. She thought I was going to die right there on the side of the road, So I'm bleeding and then I got a little faint. So I sat on the swale. We ended up going to the hospital. And while we were in the hospital, all I had was 7 stitches in my head. I got 7 stitches. It was a flesh wound.
Put in a bad spot.
In a crazy spot, yeah. And she had a couple of stitches in her arm. Her child was totally okay. I turned out that I didn't really have any other injuries other than that. I had a big bruise on my thigh. But really, we escaped that terrible, tragic accident with no tragedy, which is awesome.
Oh my gosh.
So we're at the hospital, and my team, my team at that point, my staff there was like 6 of us. We were young. So they're in the hospital and they're in the waiting room, and like my demeanor, my inclination as a human being is to be a warrior for justice. And that's what we call it now. Back then I called it a civil justice prosecutor, but really I was so aggressive. I mean, like I didn't have any speed but go. Like it was just, if we had a case, I wanted it in court, I wanted to go to trial, I wanted to push, I wanted to just, unless they tendered, I didn't care. Like I just had that button where and I was not nice to a lot of people trying to get what I needed. And so my team is in the lobby, and they're making fun of the poor girl who hit me, because they're like, oh my God, she's probably going to be enslaved for 20 years to this guy. He's never going to let her go. He's going to hunt her. He's never going to let her own a piece of property. He's never going to do this. And they're joking about it because, this gallows humor happens in times of stress. Right. And a woman across the lobby starts to cry. And they're like, are you okay? And they're like, that's my daughter that you're talking about. She was in the accident with him. And so they were like, no, we were just kidding. We feel terrible. So I came out, they told me that, right? So I felt terrible. And I went back into the young lady and I'm like, listen, I just want you to know that nothing bad's going to happen to you. I'm going to collect your insurance. As long as you tell the truth and you tell what happened. What happened is she was feeding her kid yogurt. She was handing him a spoon of yogurt and went through the red light, and she just blew it. So, she was like, yeah, I promise. And so we became friendly through that. She called me afterwards. She kept up with me. I kept up with her. And she broke down and cried to me that her life was just destroyed. Her husband had left her with a child. He wouldn't pay any child support. He wouldn't give her any help. He wouldn't give her any alimony. He was a sole breadwinner. She was a single mom. She didn't even own a car. That was a friend's car she wrecked. Now she has no wheels. Now she can't get a job. I mean, like this cascade of awfulness, right? And so I called in a chit, and I called up a buddy of mine, and his name is Andy. And I said, Andy, I've sent you a lot of divorce cases. I've never really asked for anything in return. I want you to handle this woman's case and collect what you can from the husband, but never charge her anything. I just need this help. And so he did that for her. And he took the case on and he took care of it. The insurance took care of it. No one was hurt badly. End of case, end of story, helped that woman out, right? That was in 1998, 98 or so, 99, right? Fast forward to 2009. I think I mentioned, like, in 2008 and 9, I got way ahead of my skis, a little bit too much hubris, and I was going to go bankrupt. Like, I was on the edge of bankruptcy because we were way into debt on a lot of property that was now valueless. Advertising had dried up cases. I had bought a building that I couldn't afford. Like, it was a hard financial road at that point. And so I was selling my house because I had bought a house, like right before the crash. I bought a big house on the river for $2 million, thinking that I would sell my house on the canal for $1.5 million to $2 million, thinking, oh, this is all going to work out okay. But no, now I have 2 houses. Neither one is able to be sold. They're both underwater. Like, my house on the Intercoastal is going to sell for, $800,000, not 1.6 million. And that just was a bad day for me. So I've got a buddy of mine, Jimmy, who's doing all the GC work at cost, right? Because he knows that I'm having a hard time. So I'm just barely getting this work done on the house I need to sell, right? And I needed it sold because I was financially dying. So he kept leaving the invoices for me to pay, and I would pay the drywall guy, I'd pay the carpeting guy, whatever. So I'm like, hey, the flooring for the bedroom is the last bill. Do you have the flooring bill for me? And he goes, it's in the kitchen of the old house. Just go and get it. They left it there for you. So I go and I get the bill, and I open it up, and it's a card. And it says, Dear Mr. LaBovick, 10 years ago, I was in a terrible accident. And now, because of you, I was able to divorce my husband and remarry. I have a wonderful life. And we own the carpeting contractor that is doing your house. And we want to do this for you for free. Please accept this as our gift. Wow. At a time when I needed it so bad, like paying them was taking food out of my kid's mouth. It was a really hard time. And I think back about that and I think, wow, what a karmic circle. That woman, is that crazy?
I was just getting ready to say that's karma right there.
Yeah. So that's the best karma story of my life, that I really
Wow.
thought I did something good for somebody, forgot about it for ages, and I still have that card, like
Yeah.
it's just such a great thing when you do something good for another human being, and then it
What
works out good for you too.
What's the cast your bread upon the water and it comes back tenfold? Isn't
One
that the
one
old?
hundred percent,
I
100%.
mean, that's incredible, and that's an incredible story. And you know what else is a little bit incredible? The fact that my ring light died in the middle of that. I had to turn on a new light. I don't know if you caught that.
No, not at all. No, there was
But
no change in your coloring at all.
oh yeah, it went dark there for a second on my end. I was sitting in the dark. But I mean, can you talk a little bit about this show is Partnerships for Profit? And obviously, we'd like to focus on that partnership aspect of things. And I mean, that's absolutely incredible, that story that would come back to you in such a major way when you needed it, that the universe would bring that back around. Can you talk a little bit with us about, I mean, you have to develop in your line of work, you have to develop these relationships with people, right? Like,
It's
can you
all
talk
about
a little bit
relationships.
about can you tell us a little bit about the importance of developing those personal relationships with your clients? Because, I mean, you're somebody that when we speak to you, you're telling us all these personal stories about the people that you've helped and how it's come back to you, and they're giving you artwork, they're giving you these things years later, they're remembering you, talking with you. What is the meaning of those personal relationships? How important are those, not only, business wise, but personally?
So at a human level, it's the thing that fulfills you and drives you. It should be the thing that fulfills and drives you. The business exists and will grow, in my opinion, and what seems to be evident to me, when the thing that it is doing is good for the world, right?
Right.
So all businesses exist to do good in the world. If they're
Mm.
not doing good in the world will rise up and crush them and say, you're not doing enough good in the world. We don't need you. So
Right.
most businesses will continue and grow and do well in the world if they're doing something good for the world. And so our business exists to help people that are in a time of need. We maximize justice by aggressively fighting for our clients' rights. That's our mission. And we believe that in the end, what we do is that in the American system of justice, there can be no justice unless the powerful can be held accountable. And the only way that the powerful are held accountable in a capitalist, free, democratic society is through trial lawyers, because government regulation is good, but not perfect. And it doesn't help individuals. It only helps the society. So you need a balance. I'm not, an anti-government guy, but I do think that we need a balance. And a very significant part of that balance to have a free capitalistic society is having the ability for the people that are powerless to hold the powerful accountable. So that's what we do good in the world, right? So that's number one. When you do all of that, that's the fulfilling part of the partnership with human beings. When you do it, the end result and benefit is that the cost to the business of continuing on doing what you're doing continues to go down, because those people support it by bringing more people to you. So I spend millions of dollars to grow my business every year in advertising. Advertising tells the world, you don't know my brand, you don't know me, but pay attention because I'm here to help you, right? I'm telling millions of people every day, Brian LaBovick and his group, the LaBovick Law Group, are here to help you. 40% of our business is from referrals. With all of the millions of dollars that we spend, still 40% comes from old clients, other lawyers, other doctors, lawyers outside the state. Like, we have a lot of referral business. And I look at that, and we do invest in our referral sources. We let them know that we love them, like give them information and stay in contact with them. But the key to it is that they're sending to us because they know, like, and trust us and know that we do good in the world. So the relationship, the partnership will be profitable, right? In the best way. The best cases are referral cases, no matter who they come from. So that's kind of where that that whole partnership rolls around. The advertising and marketing is for development of growing a market, but the only way that you stay in business is by being in partnership with your client, and then doing good in the world.
I love that mentality that, you know, businesses are supposed to do good in the world, right? I wish more businesses thought like that, you know, that businesses exist to do good in the world. And I mean, that goes right back to the warrior for justice mentality. And I know we spoke a little bit about it last time, but I would be remiss if we didn't, you know, touch on it again. Can you speak with us a little bit about that warrior for justice mentality? Because I absolutely love that. And I think it's fantastic.
Thank you. So you have to pick your vision of what you want to be, right? Like everybody has a thing they want to be in the world. My best friend coming out of law school wanted to be the most competent transactional real estate lawyer in the state. And that was his vision. His vision was he was going to be able to shepherd people in very sophisticated transactions from point A to point B in a successful way. And he became extremely competent at that. And he's sought after. He spends not a dollar in advertising. I don't think he has a website. Like literally zero money to do anything but be competent. And the business flocks to him. So for us to be warriors for justice in the most competitive part of the law is to let the people know that our brand is to fight for you. Like you can stand behind us and we are going to bring the fight to the other side to get you the justice you deserve. And so that's what we desire. And we don't use the term, and we don't talk about in our firm money. We never really talk in terms of money. We talk in terms of justice. And when we talk in terms of justice, it's a holistic concept of justice. So it's justice within what the law permits, justice within what time permits, justice within what our client permits and what our client needs to feel like they came out on the good side of this situation. So for instance, our work comp lawyer last week told a story about how he really believed that our client deserved a certain thing in their work comp case. And he wanted to fight for it. And he felt good about going to trial. But the client didn't want that. The client simply wanted to take the settlement offer and move on because he wanted it out of his life. So justice for the client demanded an end to this, because litigation in any form, I always say, is an anchor in your life. And your life doesn't move forward until you stop the litigation. Then you pull the anchor up and your boat moves forward. So it's really hard emotionally for people to be involved in litigation. Yeah. And we recognize that. So justice for them may not be, let's go to trial in 2 years. It might be, I'll take the settlement now. That's better for me. So we have to pay attention to what justice demands. All right. And that's our concept of doing good in the world and doing justice for people. And that's how we came up with that.
I would like to pivot a little bit here, because this is something we've talked about, things that we've talked about previously. I want to talk about something that I don't think we delved into too much last time we spoke. Can we talk a little bit about the book?
Oh, of course. Not a Good Neighbor.
Not a Good Neighbor.
Not a Good Neighbor. That book has both helped and hurt me.
Oh, how so?
So the purpose of the book, we wrote the book. So the book is a self-help guide. If you don't want to hire a lawyer, you can read the book, and it details out what you need to do to settle your own auto accident case, basically. And there's forms that you can get online. I've got a website you can get online and get that. It's brianlabovick.com. So it's just my name.
I just understood the title of the book.
Oh, really? You just got it. Like a Good Neighbor didn't hit you at all, huh?
Well, so not until
we were going to call it Don't Trust Flow, and they were going to be called like Beware the Gecko, but we came up with Not a Good Neighbor. So
you want to talk about, I was going to say, you want to talk about that was, I was slow on the uptake on that one. That was
right over you. But yes, so it's there. And what we do is, since we can't help everyone, unfortunately, and since not everybody wants help, you can get the book and you can, do your own case, and you can try to save the money on your case. And really, like you won't get the same money as you would if you had an attorney, right?
Right.
you will always get, the average is 3 times as much with an attorney. But if you get a really good attorney, it's probably 10 times as much. I mean, if you get a really good lawyer, he's going to get you way more than you're going to get on your own. It's just, that's the truth of the matter. But some people would rather get justice quicker on their own, not pay a lawyer, not deal with the law, kind of know basically what to do, be able to negotiate with the adjuster and push it behind them. And I wanted them to have something for that. The other thing that we needed is that people call and we listen to their case, and it's not a case that we can handle for whatever reason. It's not big enough, the liability doesn't work, whatever it is. If it's a case we don't handle, we can send them the book, provide them something so that they have a solution and they can try to go and get it done themselves, or they can call another law firm. I'm happy to, talk to anybody you need. So that was the purpose of the book. At the same time, we have a foundation that we started called Safety for Life, number 4 in the middle. So safetyforlife.org. If anybody wants to go look it up, it is a spectacular organization. And what we do is we do all those traffic crash reenactments for high school students. We bring police officers into the schools and we teach them how to interact with the police. We call it safe police interaction. We have human trafficking experts that go in and teach the kids how to avoid human trafficking. And we have internet experts coming in and teaching kids how to avoid being scammed on the internet. So we have 4 impactful lessons. We bring them to high schools. We talk to about 60,000 kids a year. I'm always in high schools talking.
Wow.
And we bring that out to the world, right? It's my foundation. I fund almost all of it. I get no money back from it at all. But I've hoped to get other people enthusiastic about being involved in it. There was an organization here before we started our thing that used to do it. And the reason I started it is that they shut down. So the person who started that down kind of went onto a different mission, and they went to Tallahassee and they're doing traffic safety lobbying, and they shut down their entire grassroots teach the kids stuff program. So I picked up that side of it because I used to speak for them, and we started our own foundation. But the major insurance companies used to support it, and they used to give money to it. And I was told that my book has turned them off to participating in the organization, even though it does good. So sadly, I think it's hurt my ability to market my own foundation, but it's okay.
It's funny because now I was going to ask you about a moment, but now I want to ask you about moments. I was going to ask you, what was the moment that you realized I need to write a book? Was there a moment where you realized that you needed to put pen to paper and come out with that? And I was going to ask about that moment, but now I also want to ask about what was the moment that you knew as well that you needed to obviously, that organization shut down, but was it instantaneous that you were like, I got to pick up the torch, or was there a moment that you knew you needed to step in?
So it wasn't fast. Okay. The book came about, both were caused by COVID. The book came about at the beginning of COVID when we didn't know how long it was going to be. I had thought about writing a book before. I didn't know what I wanted to write about. And I had a guy that I coached, it's in the book, that I coached through a case. So he kept calling me and saying, what do I say to the adjuster now? What do I say to the adjuster now? And I got done with helping him, and he settled his case, and he was super happy with it. And he goes, you're a great teacher. You should write a book. And I was like, you think that'd be good? He goes, man, people could use this information. And I said, all right, I should. And then COVID happened. And I was like, well, now I have time to write a book. So I sat down and wrote the book during COVID. And that's why that happened. At the same time that the grassroots effort of that organization died at COVID, the executive director left. She went to do another job for the city called Vision Zero, which is all like good traffic planning to avoid pedestrian and biker deaths. So there's this whole system of how to set up traffic for that called Vision Zero, making sure people don't die on the road. And she went to be the executive director of that. And then the city shut that down. It lost its budget like a year and a half later. And she came back to me and saying, I lost my budget at Vision Zero. And I'm curious what I'm going to do now. And I was like, why don't we restart what we were doing before and I'll just start my own foundation and we'll do that. So I had a partner in it, and she joined me in it, and that's how I got really fast momentum, because I took the executive director and we bolted forward and went right back into schools. So it built up. The first year we did like 15,000 kids. The next year we did like 25,000 kids. Last year we did like 60,000 kids. So
wow. No, and I'm not trying to reveal too much here. I'm not trying to reveal too much, not trying to get you to spill all your secrets. But if we could peel back the cover of the book a little bit, is there one lesson or takeaway from the book that's written down in the book, one lesson that you share in the book that maybe you could share with our listeners now?
I think I guess the easiest lesson would be I think that the lesson of the book is to give people the confidence to just talk to the adjuster and provide the adjuster enough information that they can get your case out of their hair and give you a fair settlement, right? So the key to it is be friendly with the adjuster. Don't make them your enemy. Give the adjuster the information they need or want, your medical records, the liability information, etc., and call them and be proactive about it, right? Like, don't sit around and be like, no. And for a target for what you should settle for, look at about 3 times whatever your medical bills are as like an easy target. It's not perfect. It's not always right. It's certainly not right if you've got some type of lingering problem and low medical bills. Like some people have this issue that's just low medical bills and terrible problem. If that's the case, get a lawyer. If you've got a really, really bad problem, don't chance it. But if you've got something that's just like, I hurt my back, it's kind of feeling better, I have $2,000 in medical bills, I want blah, 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 look for something within the policy limits and just try to get it settled for that. And so target that as your target number, double it in your demand, and then just work backwards.
Brian, thank you so much for coming back on the show. Absolutely. I was going to say, this has been, the first conversation was fantastic. This conversation was fantastic. And I look forward to the next conversation. You're coming back.
Adrian, it's fun being your friend, brother. It's great knowing you guys.
I was going to say, it's fantastic getting you on the show. And for everybody out there listening, anybody could use the help, services, the aid of the LaBovick Law Group. How can the people find you?
If you know my last name, it's right there on the screen, LaBovick. You can go to that online, www.labovick.com. You can type in Brian LaBovick. You can do anything LaBovick online. You're going to come up with me. And if you're in the 561 area code, all you got to do is dial 561-888-8888.
Oh, look at that. That's good right there. Nice.
The repeater number helps. So let me tell you.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for coming back on the show. And I look forward to getting you back on the show.
Absolutely.
The first repeat guest. I look forward to the three-peat, man.
All right. I got to do something really cool to get back on for 3. So, all right, you guys. Peace out.
Thank you so much for coming back on the show. And thank you, everyone, for listening. This has been Partnerships for Profit, presented by LeDuc Entertainment. Brian, thank you again.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Partnerships for Profit. We hope you've gained valuable insights on how to form profitable partnerships and take your business to the next level. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Got a partnership story to share or someone you'd like to see featured on the show? Reach out to us. Until next time, keep building those partnerships for profit.